anime wonderland fun place. Welcome to my new kitchen. Well, not a whole new kitchen, just the countertops. The rest of the kitchen is still very much under construction, but here we are. If anime, DIY, and kawaii fashion content is the kind of content that you like to watch, that's the kind of content that I like to make. So I really appreciate you subscribing. And again, I'm gonna be doing my whole house into this anime wonderland fun place. So I really recommend that you stick around. Today, I'm gonna be showing you how I created these beautiful pink glittery countertops. The inspiration for me is Magical Girl anime. I have loved Magical Girl anime and manga ever since I was small, and I really wanted to pay homage to that within my kitchen. This entire project took a little over a week, and that's mostly because the primer that I used takes 7 days to cure. If you used a less expensive or a less intensive primer, I'm sure you'd be able to get it done in a weekend if you really put your mind to it. So let's get into exactly what I did. So before you start painting, I would recommend taping off any areas that you don't want to get paint on. The only area that I taped off was actually my sink because everything else in here is gonna get painted, so I was hoping to get some kind of overlap. I realized that I never filmed myself taping the sink, nor did I film myself removing the tape from the sink, so I'm gonna demonstrate that for you now. The long pieces of the sink are easy. Just try and line up the tape with the perfect edge of the sink. You don't want to get any paint on the edge of the sink like I did that you can clearly see in this video. And then on the corner, I found the best method for me was to use smaller little pieces of tape and just trying to like mold them to the edge. And the smaller the better because it's just easier to control where you're placing the tape. And when you go to remove the tape, you're gonna have several layers of paint overlapping onto the tape because you should be trying to overlap the layers. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take an X-Acto knife or a box cutter and you're gonna cut as close to the sink's edge as you can along the entire tape line before you try to remove the tape. Otherwise, the tape might lift up and drag out some of the paint and you might end up with cracks and stuff like that. So sorry that I didn't film this beforehand, but I hope this was useful. So the first thing I did, of course, was prime everything. So I used the Inslex Sticks Water Bonding Primer. It's made to withstand a lot of water damage, which I basically bought this because I'm redoing my bathroom as well and I'm painting my shower tile, so I needed something heavy duty, but since I already had a gallon of it, I just used it in the kitchen as well. You'll see in the video that I've also primed the entire backsplash because it was this weird gray and salmon pink color that I hated. Eventually I will be painting the backsplash white with the same paint that I'm using for my bathroom. I did 2 coats of the primer just to make sure that I adhered to all of the crevices inside the tile and then everything on the countertop as well. And then I went in with the paint. The paint that I used for the pink was the Beauti-tone Design Series Trim and Door paint in the color Magic Wand, and the finish was silk, I believe. It just so happened that I found this paint on sale and it's the exact color that I would have picked. It's even called Magic Wand. How perfect is that? I got it for $35 Canadian at my local home hardware. Most places that have a paint store will have a little section off to the side where they have like mist tints and stuff like that. So I was actually pretty lucky in what I've been able to find there so far. So the next time you go into a hardware store, I recommend taking a look at what they have in the used paint. So I ended up painting 2 coats of the pink paint. I thought I was going to take 3 coats, but I was lucky enough that it only took 2, so thank goodness for that. Next, I moved on to the glitter. So I bought a glitter paint additive from Amazon, and they are little star and moon glitters. They are silver and they are iridescent and they are beautiful. Kind of chunkier, so if it's not really your thing, this company also sells many other glitter additives that are smaller and different shapes and sizes and colors. They have lots to choose from, so check them out. I will link the Amazon link below. And I mixed that with polyurethane acrylic paint. In doing so, I was able to get this clear finish on top of my countertops. This polyurethane paint I asked for at the paint store what I should be mixing my glitter with. That is what they gave me. So the first coat I did with the polyurethane paint and the glitter, and then I did 2 more coats with just the polyurethane paint clear, just to build up some durability on my countertops. These are the little star and moon glitters, and my finger and hand for size reference, I think they're super duper cute. And you can kind of see the little itty bitty glitters from the top coat. One thing to note that I went wrong with a little bit here was that I was rolling out, you can see in the video, I was rolling out the clear polyurethane paint. I would not recommend doing this, and I'll tell you why. It created these little bubbles all over my countertop, which are cute, but it's not the desired look, obviously. And what I think was happening was that the clear coating that I was using dries too fast for me to roller it, or I was rolling it after it was too dry. And then it was creating these little bubbles that would dry instantly instead of leveling out. Personally, what I would recommend doing is actually getting a nice, good quality brush. This is also good for the glitter step, because in the glitter step I was using kind of a cheaper brush, and it did leave a lot of little hairs all over in my countertop that I wasn't able to get all of them when I was picking them out. So unfortunately they're there permanently now. It doesn't really bother me, but for you, if you ever do this, to avoid that, I would get a higher quality brush. And when you are putting on the clear coating, I would brush, don't use a roller at all, and I would just brush in all the same direction and only brush while the paint is still very wet. Like if it starts to feel tacky at all, I would add more paint, just because if you're still painting while the paint is wet, it allows the paint a chance to like level off, which will give you a smoother finish. So I did that on my final 2 coats of paint, and I think it gave like a nice sheen, smooth feeling countertop. I really love it. The final step in the countertop process was a Granite Top Coat. So this company called Gianni creates these recoating kits for countertops, and this is actually how I got the idea to do this. They sell kits that let you do like a marble pattern and stuff like that, so I didn't need any of their paint kits because I knew that I wanted to do pink and glitter. So instead I just bought their glitter top coat. Again, I was a little disappointed with the glitter top coat. It's not very glittery, it just gives a little bit of shimmer. Again, if that's your vibe, I would pay for it. It was pretty expensive, to be honest, so I probably wouldn't buy it again. On the other hand, it is specifically made to be a countertop coating, so I imagine that it's even more durable than the polyurethane paint that I used. Okay, I am back a couple of days later because me and my father decided to paint the backsplash as well as the tile in my bathroom. And I wanted to include it in this video because 1, I think it's fascinating. 2, it would have been weird to put this in a video on its own, and we just did it, so I'm putting it in. So basically I used a 2-part epoxy paint for this project. We mixed 1 part hardener with 3 parts of the epoxy paint colored. I chose the lightest, whitest, coolest tone white that they had because I thought it would complement my new countertops really well. Because the paint is so thick, you do need to tape off the entire area because it's not something that you can nicely feather out. Like you saw when I was painting the primer, I was feathering it out over the edges so that was covering everything. You do not want to do that with this epoxy paint because it basically dries into like a thin sheet of vinyl, I guess, is the texture that I would use. So it makes it really nice for shininess, as well as it'll be really easy to clean off. But it means that when you are painting, you have to be really careful because you can't really cover it. If it gets on something else, you have to scrape it off. And with the tape, I'm going to show in the video, just like I did on the sink, you do have to cut the edges before you remove the tape, and this is extremely important for thick coats of paint and this epoxy paint because it's all like one sheet of vinyl. So if you start ripping off the tape without a clean cut, it will start ripping off up the wall. So make sure that you cut. One other thing to mention is that when I was ripping off the paint, I did have some bleed through and it did rip off some of my countertop paint that I just did. I think most of it I will be able to cover with silicone. I'm going to be sealing all of the edges of the new Backsplash with silicone again because it is like a piece of plastic. So I want to seal all the edges just in case if it starts pulling up, it'll pull everything up and it'll look really bad. I think most of the edges that got pulled, I will be able to cover with silicone, but there are some areas that I'll probably need to touch up with Magic Wand, the pink that I used on the rest of the countertop. But all in all, I think it's gonna work out just fine. I would like to remind everyone that I am not a professional home renovator. I do not have any expertise in paint or anything like that. For each one of these projects, I did consult a professional and I suggest that you do the same. Especially for something like this epoxy paint, because there are many different options, some less or more expensive than others. So I would definitely consult an expert before picking out or using any of this type of paint. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked this video, please like this video. There's no other way for me to know if you are enjoying my content than if you interact with it. Let me know what you think of my new kitchen so far. I'm really excited. I love the way that the counter turned out.
Are you stupid or just incredibly lazy?
See ya.